I probably could have picked a better song to sing than the one I was singing.
Trundle was later arrested for public order offences that took place on the pitch.
On the front of the paper was just ban this idiot. If she wouldn't have come along, that was the whole reason why I knuckled down and started training.
Hello guys and welcome to The Sportsman Untitled. We've got a special edition for you today ahead of Swansea versus Cardiff. I'm joined by Chris Oakes, usual guests, and Lee Trundle, Swansea City legend. So we'll talk about the game, we'll talk all about Lee Trundle's career as well, and let's get into it. So Lee, Swansea versus Cardiff this weekend, this Sunday. How much are you looking forward to this game?
Yeah, I love it. I think that this is the game where when the fixtures come out, you'd always look for that one because you know the occasion, what it is, the rivalry between the two clubs. You know, it's one that you want to watch. It's an enjoyable game to watch, and especially when you're winning them as well.
And where would you rank this derby? There's loads of derbies around British football. I mean, Sheffield Wednesday fan, you know a bit about derbies in Sheffield. Where are you putting Cardiff, Swansea when you look at all the others around the country? Yeah,
I think it's up there. I think obviously the bubble trip makes it even more special. You know, I think it's the only one in Europe left where the fans have to get the coach from their home ground and get policed in, and I think that gives it an added edge to it as well. You know, the rivalry between the two clubs is massive. Probably people outside of Wales wouldn't see it as a big derby, but if you're a Swans Cardiff fan, you know that is up there with the best of them.
And Chris, we see it in like Scotland with Celtic, Rangers and the other derbies up there. The fact that Wales is obviously its own independent country and these are the two kind of biggest teams there, adds all the way to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're only going to watch like two games all season of Swansea or Cardiff, you watch the Swansea Cardiff game, don't you? It really is. I mean, I don't know what you thought of the derby before you played for Swansea.
Yeah, as I say, that's why I mentioned Wales, because really I never really knew much about it before I come. Even when I first joined Wrexham, playing in Wales, when Wrexham played Cardiff, it was not. You know, it was just a game of two Welsh teams playing. There was no needle. But obviously, you come to Swansea, and when you first sign, even when I first signed, we were in different leagues, and people would still speak about that fixture. You know, they'd say, "Oh, do you want to get them in the cup?" Or they'd speak about the rivalry of the two teams. So when you're living in the city and when you're there, you know, you realise how big it is to them.
And since you kind of played for them and since you retired, they've kind of been two championship teams, obviously had spells in the Premier League, both of them, but they've played each other an awful lot. It's a really regular fixture. Do you think it's kind of developed since you left?
Yeah, definitely, because obviously, as I say, in the early years, we wasn't in the same league, so, you know, you had the rivalry, but without the games there. So, you know, when we've been in the same division, it's been brilliant, and the rivalry has gone even more, and, you know, to sample that game, the atmosphere, especially as a fan, going there as a fan, it's a brilliant occasion.
And you had a big moment in this game without playing in one of these games at the Millennium Stadium. Obviously that T-shirt, we'll get a picture on so the fans can see it. Talk us through that. I mean, you were just at the Millennium Stadium, right, against Carlisle. You'd won the EFL final.
Yeah.
Talk us through your thoughts, the planning behind it.
Yeah, so it was there was no planning at all, and this is what I mean. This was we wasn't in the same division, so here's where we're talking about the rivalry of the two teams. You know, we're not even playing Cardiff; we're just in a final in Cardiff, and they were both thrown onto the pitch. People say, "Did I have it under my top for the full game?" But you can see I've got my shirt on under that, so I'm walking around the side and like flags are getting thrown on, scarves, hats, and the T-shirt was on the floor. So I put the T-shirt on, put my hands out like that. I must have had it on for probably, I'm guessing, no longer than 5 seconds.
But it will define you for the rest of your life.
100%. And for that as well, I think the rivalry between the two clubs, if you're, well, like top striker at the time is doing that. I think even if you hadn't scored a goal, if you done that anyway, I think the fans would love you straight away because the rivalry is that big. So, you know, as I say, 5 seconds like that, but then it's something we still speak about to this day.
It's not at the Cardiff City Stadium either, but it's on their territory kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's what you know, when you were going into Cardiff that day, it was black and white everywhere, the fans, because it's not far for us to travel. I think we took around 35,000 there for the final. So a great occasion for us, and probably one of our biggest games at the time where the club was, as we were, you know, going up through the leagues. So I think it was a little thing where we're sort of taking over your city, and the fans are still having that in mind, even though we're not playing them.
Oh, a quote written down here which says Trundle was later arrested for public order offences that took place on the pitch, including waving a Welsh flag with F off Cardiff scrawled on it. Is that true?
Yeah, there was the same again. It was me and Alan Tate holding the flag up, and it had that on. The next morning as well in the newspaper. So I went to, because I scored in the game, played well, got man of the match. So I thought I'll go and get the papers, have a little match report, because I'd done really well. And then on the front of the paper was just ban this idiot. It just had me with the flag, and he cut Alan Tate off. So it's just me saying ban this idiot. It was two of us holding it, but they're saying it about me. But, you know, yeah, we come. I remember Tatey come to me because we had a celebration at like Morgan's Hotel after the final. We went back to Swansea, and he said, "Oh, the police want to speak to us." And I said, "What for?" Because literally the flag again, I'd sort of held it up like that and then dropped it. It was literally again 5 seconds. So then he said, "Oh, about the flag and the t-shirt," and I went, "Well, no one was in the ground. It was just our fans. Carlisle fans had left. It was all our fans in there where you're celebrating too, but then obviously all the press around and everything, and that's what caused us there." But yeah, we got it. I think I got a 1-match ban. I got a 1 week's wages. This was off the Welsh FA that fined us. Right. 1 week's wages, and then off the police we got like a 4-year ASBO. Like, so I said, "Well, how does it work? Well, can I still go and play football in the grounds?" And he said, "Yeah, I think it's like whatever it was. I think if something happened in that time, they could come back on it." But
so did Alan Tate get away with it, or did he get the same as you?
No. Oh, okay. He got away with it in the newspaper, right. But it was me and him together.
But the police knew.
Yeah. Got to the bottom of that one.
Yeah.
Fast forward to April 2023. I saw a video of you in the away end at Cardiff on somebody's shoulders leading the chants. Have you got to be careful of the line you're treading between full-on Swansea fan and Swansea City ambassador official role?
Do you know what? Same again. That was, and if I'm being honest, we're like, so it's in the away games. Like our pubs will, like, I think that was it an earlier kickoff?
Probably.
They usually are 12.
Yeah, but then the pubs are still open at like 7 a.m. in Swansea. So they're serving breakfast. So went and had a breakfast in the pub. I think I got there for like 7.
Did you eat any breakfast though?
Yeah, I did actually. So I had my breakfast. Then obviously you're in with the Swans fans and they're getting your Jaeger bombs, and so you're part of that. And I love being a football fan as well. Do you know what I mean? I love going to the game like that. And the same again, getting on the shoulders. It's you come in, but we were down in the concourse, so it was just all our fans. You're not out to the Cardiff fans doing it, but then obviously with social media now and the phones, I probably could have picked a better song to sing than the one I was singing. But you know, you get caught up in the moment as a football fan, and I enjoy going watching the team play. And it's nice to be a fan as well and just be in there and enjoy the game. But yeah, it is one where it was later on that night, so I got in straight after the game, had a little sleep on the couch, woke up and then seen the video, and I thought, I don't know how this is going to go. But you know what, it was fine. I think on one of the Cardiff City fan pages, fans forum, I think someone said something about me doing it.
This idiot.
No, I think someone said something about like along them lines. And then a load of their fans were saying, "Oh, I wish our ex-players would be in doing that and showing a bit of passion for the club." So I thought I'd get a lot of backlash off them just because we beat them as well. That game was when Ben Cabango scored the winner in the 98th minute, last kick of the game. So I thought I'd get a bit of backlash off them. But to be fair, they were saying, "Well, what he's supporting his team, what you want him to do," which was nice. And I don't really get nice words off Cardiff fans, so it was all right after that.
So you're up there with Mike Dean, celebrating in the way.
Do you mentioned being a fan? Obviously, it's a completely different experience from when you were a player. You obviously miss being a player at times, but are you just enjoying being a fan now?
Oh yeah, being a player, I think it's a completely different feeling. Because when you're out on the pitch, you can affect the game. So you've got a different feeling inside. Once you're a fan and you're just sitting in the stands, it's in the lads' hands who are out there. So I think...
Tell us about it.
It is, isn't it? So it's your emotions are even higher, I think. And I said this, even out of all me football, even when I'm playing and moments in football, that game when Ben scored the last goal, that's probably up there as one of my best days in football. because of the time that I had. It was excellent.
I spoke to Peter Schmeichel once about, I think he won his first Premier League at the age of 30, and then Casper did as well. And I spoke to him after that, and I said, which was better? And he said, well, Casper's, because you can't do anything about it, and you're just living through him.
Yeah,
and you
definitely.
Really want it.
And
so
also
like
it's taking him to all those, kids' football lessons, driving him around,
exactly,
and that's what it's produced.
And I think then he's had the feeling of doing it himself. So if you're watching your son do it as well, and knowing that how brilliant that feels, and you as a dad watching your son do that would be amazing anyway.
No, exactly. So it's the same as a fan, I guess.
Yeah,
like in that way.
You were obviously quite a passionate player, but when you're a player, it is a job. Did you ever kind of feel like, oh, this is just business, and you couldn't get too emotional about it?
If I'm honest, probably with every other club apart from Swansea. I did get...
There's the ambassador speaking.
Yeah, but it is. That was where like my emotions come into it more. I think it was my first time, because when I played for Wrexham, I lived in Liverpool, so I'd be in and out, I'd go to train, and I wouldn't spend much time in Wrexham itself. When you go to Swansea, you have to live there. It's far away from my home, couldn't commute. So you get involved in the city, you get involved with the fans. If you're going in the shopping, they're talking to you about the games and stuff like that. And I think more emotional wise, got caught in Swansea. With me other clubs, I did see it as a job, although I cared and I wanted to do well for the fans, because everywhere I went, they treated me well. I think emotionally, Swansea was the one that has got me the most.
100%. You played, I didn't write this question before you have a go at me.
Yeah.
You played Cardiff 5 times, lost 4 times out of those 5, and scored once for Wrexham.
That's why you enjoy it more when you're a fan.
Exactly. Yeah. Did you find games against them particularly tough, or was it just one of them things?
No, do you know, as I say, a lot of them would have probably been where there was no rivalry anyway. With Wrexham beforehand, I think, it's, as I say, just playing against them. The other times would probably be just because they've had a better side. They were in a higher division. I've never played against them for Swansea.
No. Is that something you really feel like you've missed out on?
If I could change anything, if I could swap as many goals to play in that game, I would do it.
So are still playing, just in case?
In case you get the call up. Yeah, I was on the bench twice when Paulo Sousa was manager. So we won 1 and lost 1, but never got on. And so I played against him for Bristol when I'd moved from Swansea. That was obviously a little bit where, you want to go and do well against them. But I think it's completely different if you played in the Swansea Cardiff one. And I'd say with that record as well, obviously I've had a better record watching as a fan, so I should say that's why I enjoy it more.
So how do you feel about Paulo Sousa then? Given that he could have brought you on in a derby.
And you know what? I even went into him before the game in the office, said, listen, this game means so much to me. I don't know whether I'll be starting or not, but if I'm on the bench, I would love to get on it, and he never done it in both of them.
Do you think that's part of him being a foreign manager as well, and you being a local lad and kind of knowing the club so well? There's that kind of clash, isn't there?
Yeah, and I just think his style of play as well. He was so defensive. I think we just missed out on the playoffs that year by a point, and our top goal scorer scored 6 goals. So you could see how we were set up. We were set up like we'd win 1-0 games, and like even in training, the shooting sessions would be the forwards setting the midfielders. And it was like, he was just like, he played a lot of Italian football, so I think that's the way his mentality was. Like, if you won a game 1-0, that was the perfect result for him.
Did you have a team that you did love playing against, in terms of, obviously, Cardiff didn't go as well as you'd have hoped, but did you have a team that you were just like, every single time I play these?
Yeah, I'd probably say in the earlier days, or even then going into the Championship as well, as Scunthorpe.
Yeah,
I always done well against them. And they were always. It wasn't even as though they were one of the lower teams in League One. They were always up there fighting at the top for promotion. But for some reason, I'd always score against them.
Was that Glanford Park? Was that away game you just thought, I love playing at this ground?
So I'd score away there, even at home as well. And it's funny because probably one of my hardest opponents when I was in them years would have been Andy Crosby, and he was the centre half for Scunthorpe. So he was one of my toughest opponents, but I'd always seem to score. Yeah.
Did you ever kind of line up at Glanford Park beforehand, or when you're walking around the pitch going, scored from there, scored from there, scored from there?
Yeah, it was, because I think both ends as well, scored in both ends there. So it was one where I enjoyed going, and I think because of the occasion, with it being a big game, we were near the top. Scunthorpe was, so it was one of them games where you want to go out and perform.
Tiny kind of packed ground as well.
Yeah, I like them ones though. Even like I'm an Everton fan, so I love Goodison, where you're close to the pitch. If you look at QPR as well, a lot of the stadiums now where they're more or less bowls, or you're so far away, but them little old grounds, you know, I love playing at them.
Full of character, aren't they? So different.
That's also why my knees hurt these days, because I've been sat in the stadiums over the past.
No leg room there. And we'll come back to Swansea versus Cardiff and your predictions at the end of this show. But we'll talk about your time at Wrexham as well. You played for them in the early 2000s. Obviously, it's a very different club now. It has changed just a bit. What are your thoughts on everything that's going around that club now?
I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant for the fans. You know, I've been down a couple of times last season. I'll go down again this season and watch them. But, you know, to see the ground full there, you know, to have I think there was 12,000 last time. Which, you know, for Wrexham coming up, and what a ride. And even for everyone, I think if you're a football fan and you see what them owners have done, you know, you look at them with envy a bit and think, I would love owners like that at our club, because, you know, they're putting the money in. They want to see the club rise as well. But you can see that they care as well. They do a lot in the community, you know, in the city itself. They're doing a lot of work there for the fans, for the local businesses and that. And I think it's great what they've done.
Are there any stories from your, obviously 20 years ago now, any stories that contrast to the Hollywood glamour that we see now with the club, with, you know, grassroots Wrexham that we kind of all know?
No, do you know what? Well, when I first signed, we were in League One. So we had a nice training ground there at Collier's Park. You know, you'd go up and have your food and everything. Your kit would be washed. So it was still done pretty good there. Obviously, I imagine it's a lot better now there. But it wasn't really, you know, because I'd come from the League of Wales as well. So I'd come from playing non-league, going into Wrexham at a professional club. So for
Premier
me,
League, yes.
Well, that's what it was. It was like, then I'm looking around at the race course thinking, oh my God, I'm playing in this ground. You've got your own training ground. So me going up to that, it was like, I was in awe of it a little bit. So I was only coming into it then, but everything was brilliant there.
You already thought it was Hollywood.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
It was the Cop Open when you were there, because obviously it closed down for a bit and now they're rebuilding it.
Yeah,
so it was full ground.
It was brilliant to play, because I think, you know, with football, obviously we know it's changed where it's the all seating, but now they're bringing back the safe standing, so they've just done that at Swansea. But to see people on the terraces and all standing together, I think atmosphere-wise, that brings the best out of everyone. Because I think if you're on the Cop, say if you're in the pub and there's 50 of you there, you can all go and stand together, and straight away that starts the atmosphere. And it was brilliant to play in front of that. And as I say, with me coming from non-league to go, and I think when we started doing well, we was having around 8,000 there. So from 8,000 to usually 800, it's a big difference. So it was great playing in front of them.
And we've seen the Disney documentaries and stuff, but what would Ryan and Rob have made of a young 20s version of Lee Trundle?
Well, I think if you look at it, well, especially with me and Andy Morell there at the time as well, and you've probably got Paul Mullen is probably along the same way. He was doing well and, you know, scoring goals, and I think it would have got on well with him. Yeah,
you could have been in, you know, the Deadpool films like we're seeing with Paul Mullen. You could have been a Hollywood star.
I definitely would have been putting my name forward 100%.
Do you think they are kind of, I don't want to say Premier League bound, I feel like that feels like ambition is a bit too high, but do you think that's kind of where they're heading? Is there any limit?
Not 1,000,000%. I think with them building a new stand behind where the Cop used to be now as well, I think that's what they have got in place. And they said it from the start when they come in, which you probably would have thought they were crazy when they done that, but they had that vision. And I think what they're doing well, you know, where you'll see these other stars there like Will Ferrell, I think Paul Rudd is here, or I think they're bringing these in to think, well, the higher you get, are these going to come on as investors, and it's going to be a dream team of all of them putting the money in, because obviously you go from each league you go up, you know, financially it gets a lot bigger. Even if you go into the Championship now, it'll get a lot bigger players' wages and stuff like that. And I think I've got them in the background to think, you know, if we do start climbing, these will come aboard and help them.
Well, and you can kind of restrain your own objectives and ambitions sometimes, can't you? Because I know when the guys came in at Salford City, the class of '92, they were talking about, we could be a Championship club, but whereas at Wrexham they've said we could be Premier League, why not? And I think that will only help in terms of getting that momentum behind them with the fans and everything.
I think what they've done, and you can add to this as well, is that there's not any major club in North Wales, really, is there? There's a whole that they could. If you live in North Wales now, you can support Wrexham, and they're, you know, a club with real ambitions. Whereas obviously South Wales, we've got Cardiff, Swansea,
and I think now as well they're a desirable club to support, aren't they? Where years ago, if you're looking at them in the National League, or it's little Wrexham now with the documentary, that the new fans that would bring along anyway. you know, I think it's great, and it's great to see the club with what they've been through over the years. It's great to see them coming back and being like that.
And you can answer this with your Swansea ambassador hat on if you want, but which of those 3 Welsh clubs do you think plays in the Premier League soonest, and can you rank them?
Do you know what? I think if you're looking at it, I think like if you take it back, I know Wrexham are in League One now, but if you look at like from a financial point of view, I think what they've done well is each league they've been in, they've had a team that is good enough to play at the next level. So nationwide, they had a League 2 team. League 2, they had a League 1 side. And I think this time with the money that they've got and the calibre of play they can bring in, they'll start trying to build a championship side now this season for next. So I think if you look at the backing and everything, you'll probably look at Wrexham being, and I know it sounds stupid because they've only just come into League One, but I think if you look at us at Swansea, we're at a completely different level financially now. You know, we're relying on a lot of loans, as a lot of football clubs are. That's modern day football. So I think if you look at it from a financial point of view, I'd probably say Wrexham would have more of a chance. Then I'd say if you're going about football wise, because us and Cardiff are probably similar off the field. I know they've got a little bit more to what could spend, but I'd say Wrexham, then us, and then Cardiff last.
It's interesting when you go on, Chris.
I was going to say Wrexham remind me of Fulham in the early 2000s. Like Al Fayed did pretty much the same thing with Kevin Keegan and John Teagan. They had players ready for the next level already, and I think that's a great model. And
I think if you're a player as well, you'd want to go and play there, wouldn't you? Because it is, you know, you're part of something what they want to try and build, and you can see the clubs moving in the right direction. So I think they can attract players now as well.
I think you don't get League 2, League 1 teams doing tours of America, playing Chelsea, Man United. Like that's not normal. So they are in their own right now becoming a massive worldwide club.
And I think that's down to them too, isn't it? The owners, you know, it's what they're, and I think that's it. That's clever business from them as well, where they are opening it up to the world with the documentary. Because I went and played in the TST tournament for Wrexham last year, and the amount of fans that we had out there was unbelievable. And it's like a lot of them had never been to the racecourse, but a few of them had when you were speaking to them. But it's like, I think you had to sign who you were supporting, like coming into the park, when you were getting your tickets. I think they'd sold like 20,000 tickets over the tournament, and I think it was like 14,000 were Wrexham fans. So when we played, we was on the main pitches, and they were all in the red shirts around. So it's brilliant to see.
Desperately trying to get that contract at Wrexham, maybe.
Still hanging in there. Yeah.
Talking of your playing days, some of your skills were incredible. There was that over-the-shoulder kind of ball roll you did. Were you a skillful player growing up? Was it something you worked on? Was it natural?
Yeah, it was something. I think when people say, is it natural? I think you are built with you've sort of got that natural ability in you, but the amount of work that you put in as well, without you knowing. Like as a kid, if I was going to the shop, I'd always have a ball and just do keep-ups. If I was walking to school in the morning, I'd bring me ball. So I was never without a ball. I would always, even when I was on my own, we had like a big tin shops, and I'd just go over and just smash the ball at the shop. It'd come back, chest there, control. I'd do that all the time. And then the amount of time that I would spend playing with my mates, because, you know, when I was growing up, you didn't have all these academies now where you're in like 4 nights a week. It was like you'd go on the field, you'd go in the youth club, you'd play in the street. So from a young age, I'd always been a player who would be skillful and trying stuff. Probably when I was younger, I just wouldn't pass at all long. I'd either score a goal or get the ball took off me.
Hated players.
That's what I mean, and that's what I would do. But if you look at it, I've probably spent a lot of time on the ball doing that. I know it's the wrong thing to do, but growing up later on in life, it's probably helped me with my skill. But it was something that I always worked on. And even now, like you talk about the shoulder roll, every time I've got a ball, I will still do that. I'll hit it up in the air and control it. So I'll always still try and, when I'm just warming up, I will always still do that all the time.
Just thinking about that poor shop owner. Trying to sell some sweets or something.
No,
just hearing that noise.
It was shut. We do when it was shut.
Did you idolise any skillful players growing up, or were you just a goal scorer, kind of looking up to those sorts of players?
No, I was more into skills than goals, than a goal scorer. Like obviously, I know I'm an Everton fan, but then growing up, like Kenny Dalglish was someone that I would looked up to. Even though Ian Rush was scoring more goals, I just loved the way Dalglish played with his back to goal and his skill. And he wasn't really a fast player, but his mind and his skill. And then after that, it was Paul Gascoigne. And then my favourite of all time would be R9. So he's someone, and then you'd have your Ronaldinho and them type of players, Romario. They were ones who I would always watch and try and pick little things up from.
The flip-flap came from you or Ronaldinho first?
Oh, Ronaldinho. I would always look at players and try and copy things off them. As soon as I'd see someone do it, I'd go out and I'd keep practicing all the time till I could do it myself. But yeah, I picked loads of stuff up off like R9, Ronaldinho, you know, even Gascoigne, you know, the way he would do certain stuff, I would always copy things off him as well.
Ronaldo was nuts, even when he put a bit of timber on. His skills are amazing.
Yeah, I just think if you look at him as a player, I know like injuries and he never had that longevity where he played at the top, but for me, I think he was the best out of all of them. Like pace, power, finishing, skill. You know, I think he had everything what a forward needs.
I think if there's one player that we wish hadn't had the injuries he had, it probably would be Ronaldo for all of us, because he's, I mean, the World Cups alone were just incredible, weren't they? Let alone the rest of his
season at Barcelona.
Yeah. And I think Mourinho says it himself, doesn't he? You know, he says if we're going just on pure talent and ability, that R9 is the best that he's ever seen.
It's interesting that you are kind of this, you know, English chappy lad, kind of goal scorer, but then you've got kind of this Brazilian influence, and you kind of saw that on the pitch, didn't you, with the skills? It's kind of, you don't see that very often, especially these days when those academies you mentioned tend to drill out a bit of that personality of these players.
Yeah, and I think that's what helped me as well. So I was never at a professional club. Wrexham was my first professional club at 24. So I'd never been coached, or I'd never been told not to do that. So that's the way I played my football. No one would ever say stop doing it, because when I was playing, I had a grassroots. I went into men's football at 15. I played out on the left wing then, because then people could tackle you properly. So you never usually put me out wide. So I'd still do my stuff out there, but I'd always play with that flair and try and take people on. So even going into the non-league, then that's just the way I played. It never got took out of me. And it wasn't until I got to Wrexham till I started getting proper coaching, because I was really raw, where I'd just go out and just play that way.
It's probably because of players like you that clubs now are going out and buying up every little 15-year-old that they can, because they don't want the Lee Trundles to go through the gaps again.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, I think that's going out of the game, that's skill-wise now. We look at the game, it's like, you know, it's a lot of possession-based. You know, people are, I think, scared to give the ball away, where it's about, let's keep possession, keep the ball. There's no really, you know, players where you look at one-on-one, where they're going, doing tricks and skills. You know, I think that's gone out of it, even though they might dribble past people sometimes. There's hardly any of the tricks or what you used to see from like Ronaldinho and the things that he would do on the pitch there. That was for me, that's more like he's entertaining and he's doing that for himself. He's enjoying himself doing it, you know what I mean? He's not thinking of like, oh, I'm going to go out and stick to this plan. He's just going out and playing with freedom.
If you see that even once in a game now, you're like going home with it and going, he did that brilliant flick. That was one thing in a game.
And the thing now, once you see that, it's right on social media straight away. Where when I was playing, especially when it was like at Swansea, when we were in like League 2 and stuff, there would be stuff that I've done in games where there's no footage of things, but now, you know, you'll see it, everything gets out there.
You'd have been trending every
I would have.
I think that's the thing with like statistics though. It's like we've become such a stats focused sport that it's about so much more than that. Like there's a 70% chance you might lose the ball if you do a step over or whatever there is.
But what's your XG?
Yeah, and like,
it is that.
Was there any need for you to do that shoulder roll in the middle of the pitch, or would it have been more efficient for you to chest it down and drive forward?
Yeah.
It's like, it is fun. It's meant to be entertainment. Like, let's try and stick to that a bit.
When I watch football, that's what I want to see. I want to see someone do a skill. I want to see someone do a trick. And when I do it in games, and I'd see the fans, and you hear that, like you hear them laughing as well when you do something like that. And I used to get a buzz out of that. That's the way I enjoyed playing. And you know, I would always go out, and it's not as though I'd go out and say, right, I'm going to do that shoulder roll in the middle of the pitch. It was just, I think, we were winning 2-0, I'd scored 2, I was playing really well, and it just come out of the air, and I just thought, I'll do it now, And if it would have went wrong, they still would have clapped anyway, and it would have carried on playing, because I was confident. But you know, you don't see that in today's game. No one wants to try and take chances or do that type of thing.
And you ended up at Swansea, obviously. Could you talk to us about the connection you built up with the fans and how that kind of grew and grew?
Yeah, I think, you know, as football fans, we all love goal scorers as well. And I think the last person to score over 20 goals was like in 1981, which was Bob Latchford, who was come from Everton. So if you're a fan and then you get someone coming and they're scoring the goals, and not only scoring the goals, bringing the tricks, and because the year before, Swansea had just managed to stay in the Football League on the last game of the season, and I think that was a wake-up call for all the fans. I think, you know, because if you go out the league, you know what it's like, you could lose your club. And now this next season, you know, you brought myself in, Leon Britton signed permanently, Andy Robinson, Alan Tate, Roberto Martinez. So there was players that I think then the fans were sort of proud of a team where we were fighting at the top of the league rather than at the bottom. And then with me scoring the goals and that, I think they just took to me as well. And even on stuff like when we say, like with me club ambassador, where I'd be out and about, when I was a player, I'd still go out to like all of the events with the fans, and I go, because I was just down there on my own. So it's for me to get out the house as well. I enjoy talking to people and socialising. So it was getting out, and I think that helps as well when you get a connection with them off the field, you know, and then when you're doing the business on the pitch, it's even better.
Especially in those days, that's incredibly like technical squad they put together. You mentioned like Leon Britton, Martinez, and obviously yourself as well. It's quite a different style of football that kind of rose through the leagues, right?
Normally get that at the bottom of the fourth tier.
Yeah, no, you don't, and I think that's what. And I think then Swansea have grew on that, and like people will talk about the Swansea way and the way when they come into when the Championship and first in the Premier League, they were called Swans alone, and people the way they were passing and that, and it was a different type of football.
And like you've grown from that, and Swansea grew up the leagues. Do you have some personal highlights from your time there that you could pick out?
I would probably say, like, obviously promotions. When you get a promotion, that's, you know, you've done all that hard work through the season, and you know you can enjoy that. I'd say that would be one. I think the cup final as well, because for us, well, for me playing in that, that was like my FA Cup. I thought I'm never going to play in an FA Cup final. This is the closest that I'm going to get, so I'm going to go out and enjoy it. So I'd say that was at one of my memorable moments as well.
How did you celebrate after the moment? So you mentioned the police came around. What was the night out like?
Oh, brilliant. So we had a party back at the hotel. So that was one of the owners' hotels. So obviously the buckets of champagne going round, everyone enjoying. And then we went into, it was called Wine Street then, which is just a street with all bars on. So we went into there and then had a good night as well. So Swansea is a good night out like that anyway, but when you've won a cup final, it's even better.
But that must be great as well. You said about like making that connection with the fans because you were down there by yourself, and so moments like that must be brilliant because it's people you know, it's not just the fans as an entity.
And you know, because of the city, it's not a big city, so the fans, you would know a lot of them by name, or you'd know a lot of them by face where you'd see it. So then, like, you'd be out shopping and you go, hello Lee, hello, you're okay, and it's just you just talking, and there's some people who who I don't know, but they talk to me as though they know me because they would have seen me out. And like my missus will go, who's that? And I say, I don't know, he's just a fan.
You just grounded, aren't you?
But then but they would just see you as like, oh, you're just Lee, because they see you all the time. Do you know what I mean? There's no like, you'll be running over or causing a fuss or anything. It's just like you're just one of them, one of the fans, and it's great.
I think that's where, like, you talk about Tyson Fury moving to Morecambe, and he's just like, no one bothers me anymore. I'm walking along the beach all of the time, and no one really bothers me. Not comparing you to Tyson Fury,
no,
maybe that's
but
it's
like what you're saying is because he's just he's not trying to hide himself away. He's just living a normal life like that, and so everyone just lets him get on what it's like because they're used to seeing him there all the time.
Yeah. Your move to Bristol City, £1 million in the end, quite a decent fee. What did that look like from your point of view? Was it a really tough decision, or was it financially kind of motivated?
Yeah, I say it all the time. And it was financially, you know, football wise. I was enjoying my time at Swansea, loved living in the city, you know, everything was brilliant. But I'd missed out on a couple of playoff finals where we'd got beat. And I was 31 at the time as well. So, you know, if you look at it, it's for someone, and especially me being in non-league, for someone to then pay £1 million for me was like, you know, that's something that I'm proud of. And when I've finished, I know football now, £1 million is nothing in today's game. But back then it was a price tag where, like, it's, you know, you've got to something where it's £1 million. So, you know, like the wages going up, moving up into the next league and being £1 million player, you know, that was the main reason, because I'd only come into football at 24, so it's not. I was on £500 a week at Wrexham when I first moved there, and that was more or less my contract for the 2 and a bit years I was there. So it wasn't until I come to Swansea where I started earning a little bit more, like as a football wise. So then this was a chance where, you know, it's an even bigger step again. So it was one that I had to take.
You've got to kind of make more of your career if it's shortened by that at the front end.
Yeah, of course, because I lost a lot of the start of my career, and that was down to myself and my attitude and the way I applied myself. You know, I just wanted to be one of the lads in the pub, but was trying to be a footballer as well. And obviously you couldn't do the both because it was affecting where, you know, I was just going out too much as a normal lad. So I did need to catch them years up. So financially, I said to Swansea, if you can give me the same, I would stay. So it wasn't even about, I'm going to play in the Championship, that's what I want to do. I would have rather stayed with Swansea than go into the Championship, but it was the money-wise that at that time Swansea couldn't match that.
Was there a moment then when you were kind of 22, 23 where you thought, I need to sort myself out if I want to be a professional footballer?
No, it was when I was 24.
Right,
it was like,
that late, yeah?
Yeah, it was me partner at the time, she got pregnant, so my daughter was going to be born. And it was sort of a thing for me, well, it's not just about me anymore, someone else is relying on me, where beforehand I'd just go out and play my football, my money would just be mine to go out and do what I want. And then that was the change in, and within 2 months of me knuckling down and training, that's when I signed professional for Wrexham then.
Wow.
That's what I mean, it was never about me ability, it was always about me attitude. So managers would always say, like, what are you doing, you're wasting your time. Like, so Mark Wright, he was at Liverpool, England. I had Mel Sterling, Imre Varadi, Sheffield Wednesday. So they were at Staley Bridge. They said exactly after the first training session, they got me in. They said, "What are you doing here? Do you want to be a footballer? You need to lose some weight. You need to
you're too good for us, make it happen."
But then they're saying the attitude as well that goes with it. And then the one with Mark Wright as well. Like the first training session, he got me in and he said, "Listen, you're a bit too big, you need to drop some weight, let's get you on the scales." So we got on the scales, I think I was 14 stone at the time. So we said, listen, like, get yourself fit, let's work really hard over this month, and then, you know, let's see where you're at, let's get you into the league. And then I got weighed the next month and I was 14.8. So then I'm arguing with him as though he's wrong, do you know what I mean? But he's only trying to help me. I end up having a big bust up with him. I don't think I played for him again. I went out on loan and then moved, but it's like he's trying to help me out and I'm seeing him as the bad guy, and it was that sort of, you couldn't get through to me that way, do you know what I mean? And it must have been so frustrating for these managers who've played professional football and they're seeing a kid who's got that talent and he's just wasting it like that.
Yeah. It's incredible, isn't it? The way we've seen that, would you say that, like, your child is responsible for your football career?
Oh, 1,000,000%, yeah. I always say that to her, yeah. She's without her, I don't know. I probably still, well, I'm playing non-league now, but I probably would have still played that right the way through, because that's for, if she wouldn't have come along, that was the whole reason why I knuckled down and started training.
And the move to Bristol City, £1 million you mentioned, we've seen some crazy transfer fees recently. If you're playing today and getting your move, where are you valuing your transfer fee at?
I don't know. What would it be around 4, would you say? Inflation, would it be around that?
I'd go higher than that.
Would you?
If we're talking Sammy Schmodix, right? I know he's gone to the Premier League for 9 million. I think we're going 5, 6, 7 at least.
I think that's a bargain though as well for in modern day football now.
For yourself? Or
no,
for
Schmodix, I think that's a good price, because, you know, Championship players are going for more than...
For the top scorer in the Championship to have gone that cheaply.
Yeah, I think that's...
Well, he's what, 29, 30 now?
Yeah.
So
that's a saying it. But same again, I was 31, so like on that... Yeah, go on, we'll go 5. Do you think?
I think that's very, yeah.
I'll go 6.
Yeah.
I'll go 7. And
I would have loved it to be 7.
I'd have been a nice signing on. Let's talk a little bit about your time at Bristol City. Would you say you enjoyed it, or were you just thinking it's not quite Swansea?
No, once I got there, I wanted to do well. You know, in that first season, we got to the playoff final. And we got beat by Hull, where Windass scored the volley. So the first season was okay without really hitting it off. You know, like the team that we played, like when I was at Swansea, I'd be the focal point on. Our wingers would play on opposite sides, so we would always come in, play balls into feet and play that way. When I moved to Bristol, we played with 2 wingers who were out and out flying wingers. Yeah. Ivan Sproul, who's one of the quickest I've seen, and then McKindo on the other side, who was fast. So I'd be setting the ball, laying it to them. They'd be getting on the bike and I wouldn't even be reaching the box before they was...
So
I was just relying on pullbacks all the time. I don't want to be on near the edge of the box. But I just think it was a different style of football as well.
And that's how Windass scored the winner, wasn't it? Of pullback.
Oh. Yeah, it was. Yeah, and it's come. But
what was your view of that? Like, obviously, kind of how did you feel when he kind of, one of the best Wembley goals we've seen, right?
Yeah, I was obviously up the other end of the pitch. I'm standing behind it, looking at it, and as soon as it's dropped, you think, oh no, because it's in a position. It was a great finish, like, and it was worthy of winning the final. But when you're on that day as well, and you're one game away from the Premier League, you know, it's heartbreaking when you get beat like that.
Is this where I admit I was in the Hull City end? That
was you?
Yeah.
Cheering along that goal.
My family's from Hull. My brother's a Hull City fan. It was a great day for them. There was a bit of me, like, second half when Bristol City were pushing, it was like, at least extra time, it would be really good day.
Yeah, same again, great occasion to play at Wembley, because as a kid, you know, and especially with my journey in football, you know, it was great to be out there and playing. All your family come down, like a coach load from Liverpool with all my mates and family on, so it was a great day out, but obviously the result weren't the best.
Best bit about that final, though, everyone seemed to absolutely love the day, because it was two clubs that had never been, not been in the top flight for years in Bristol City's case, and never been there in Hull City's case. It was just you could see that it was an amazing occasion. Yeah,
and as a neutral fan, you know, it's nice to see these clubs who haven't been there to get into the Premier League, which was nice. I had some ex-teammates on the Hull side as well, who I played at Swansea with, so, you know, even though you don't go up yourself, it's nice to see them go and sample in the Premier League. And
losing a game of that kind of magnitude, how do you respond to that? Is it just desolate for a bit, or are you thinking?
You know what? I think we went straight to Marbella, I think, on the next day. Like
Sounds good to me.
So I think 5 or 6 of us, of the Bristol lads, all. But what can you do? Do you know what I mean? Obviously, you're sad on the game. I was crying on the pitch, you know, I'll admit that. So you're sad then, but once you get in the dressing room, you have a little beer. It's like, well, I'm one of them where once the game is finished, I'll never worry about, I should have done this, I should have done that. Once it's finished, it's gone. I can't change it, so just get on with your life. And I know some people, it affects them really bad, where they might have a meal booked and they don't go for a meal, or they don't go out, and, you know, they won't do stuff with the family or the missus. But as soon as the game was finished, I was fine. That's it.
And how did you get on the following season at Bristol after?
Yeah, that's it. Never went well. I didn't really play that much. He'd play me out on the right, on the left. I think he was a bit frustrated as well, where, like, you know, can we get the best out of him type of thing. And
who was the manager?
It was Gary Johnson.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so it just didn't work out for both of us, even though there was flashes of stuff that I'd done. You know, obviously scored the one in the semi-final against Palace to help us get to the final. So there was little flashes over the season, but when I've been at Swansea and I'm used to doing it week in, week out, for me as well, when I was like, then I'm on the bench for a lot of the games, and it just felt, especially at my age as well, it's not as though I'm a young lad. I'd already established as a good goal scorer, and then when you're sitting on the bench, it does hurt you a little bit, because you want to be out there and be the main man.
Yeah, did you feel more important at Swansea?
Oh, 1,000,000%. And I think that gets the best out of me as well. I liked relying on, like, where, say if it was a tight game and, like, one of the lads was go, Truns, come on, get us something, and, like, so I would enjoy that responsibility.
Chest out, kind of.
Yeah, and then where you go to Bristol and you don't feel as though you're making an impact or you're part of it, and it does. I think as the type of player I am as well, I do think that affects you, because I need that confidence behind me to go out and play that way.
Would you say you regret leaving Swansea, even though it was for good money at the stage of your career? Would you look back at that now and think, maybe I should have just stuck it out?
Football-wise, yeah, because obviously, as I said, everything was right. But at that time, I just couldn't turn it down. And I'm one of these, once it happens, I will never look back and say, I regret it. It was a chance that I've took. You know, I could have went on and had 3 brilliant seasons there and scored loads of goals, but it didn't happen that way. So I don't really regret doing it. I knew I'd always come back to Swansea, even after that contract. Even if I'd been on fire for them 3 years, I still would have went back to. In my head, that's what I wanted to do, and I managed to go back on loan for the last year of it. But I knew that I would always. That's where I belonged, in Swansea.
It was the right decision at that time as well.
Yeah, it was definitely.
Yeah, and were you ever close to a move to the Premier League? Was there any interest, or was it that playoff final was the closest you ever got? That
was the closest I ever got. There was always rumours and stuff, and I know there was like rumours about Everton, which would have been unbelievable for me. Portsmouth, when they was in there, I think there was a bit of talk, but there was no concrete offer in. I think the only offer that I had there was from Sheffield Wednesday. When I was, they were in the Championship.
You could have been my hero, Lee.
They were in the Championship, but at that season they were near the bottom.
Every season,
and then we were near the top. So it was one of them where, like, the money wasn't much different, And I thought, imagine if that happened and Sheffield Wednesday come down and Swansea went up, and so they asked me about that. They come and said that I think they offered 750 grand. And then
I haven't got that money these days.
And then I said no, I wanted to stay and try and get promoted with Swansea.
It's actually probably quite a hard part of a footballer's life in terms of deciding. You get obviously this talk from agents, you get sold different clubs by different people. Sometimes that can turn out to be bust, but you've got to kind of judge if a club's on the rise, if a club's on the
definitely.
fall. So have you obviously you talked about that one, but it's quite a difficult thing for modern footballers as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is difficult, and that's something what you have to watch out for. But like right the way through my career at Swansea, even when he was like I was doing well and he was all speculation, I never ever went in and asked to move or to say, because I was happy at the football club, and I would have spent my full career there, I still would have been happy. But it's when someone comes in and offers that money and you see that's when it's different then. But beforehand I was happy. I didn't want to leave.
I'm kind of drifting off thinking of what it would have been like to see you and Carno in the same team at Portsmouth.
Who'd have scored more goals?
Who'd have turned on the most skills as well.
Exactly. You also, we've already touched about him, Roberto Martinez at Swansea, playing with him, knowing him a little bit. Did you ever think he'd become the manager he's become? He's managing Ronaldo at the minute.
Hanging around with De Bruyne and Ronaldo.
Yeah. Do you know what? Yeah, I knew that he would be a top level manager. Even as a player, he was still a manager in the dressing room even though you had a manager, he was still a manager himself. Do you know what I mean? Even like in training, he'd bring like little notepads out with him, and then like you'd see him like jotting stuff down in training and things like that. This is when he was playing.
Teacher's pet, right?
No, I think it was more of going as like the manager didn't see him as a threat.
He's getting that wrong.
Do you know, because then Kenny Jackett it was at the time, and then Kenny Jackett released Roberto, and I thought Roberto was still one of our better midfielders technically, but I think Kenny wanted to go with a bit more like bigger players in there, and he done well to get us out of League Two, Kenny. So Roberto then moved on to Chester, and then as soon as Kenny lost his job, Roberto come straight in and was manager. But you knew he was going to be you knew he was kind of managing the Premier League 100%. Even things like we went on end of season tour to Magaluf, just the lads, and then Roberto somehow finds a game to go and watch out there.
Just obsessed.
Yeah, but it's like who are you watching in Magaluf? Do you know what I mean? But he went and found a game there because he didn't drink. Didn't eat fast food or anything. His life was a true professional. Yeah. But then he'd come back after the game, and even though he didn't drink, he'd still be out till the end of the night with all the boys.
So when he was Everton manager, you must have been absolutely desperate for him to do well. Not only is it Everton, but
yeah,
your teammate.
100%. Yeah, everywhere he's went, I've been the same as that, because he's a lovely fella as well. Yeah. But when he's at your team, you want him to. I wanted him to do well, but with the case of Everton, it just seems whoever goes there. You look at the managers that we've had, the Martinez, even before Silva,
Carlo Ancelotti.
Well, yeah, it says everything, doesn't it? But if you're moving from Everton to Real Madrid and the team's not doing well, it's nothing to do with the manager. Do you know what I mean? It's just the club. But yeah, I wanted him to do really well when he was there.
Talking of players moving into management, it seems to be, I don't know if you think there's a reason for this, midfielders are like Pep Guardiola, Mikel Arteta, Martinez, even obviously Gerrard and Lampard have had a crack at it. Do you think there's something in the way they see the game that makes them tactically better than forwards? Or you never get a goalkeeper manager, really, do you?
No, and I think I think that they would have a more of an understanding. I think if you're a striker, I think you're a bit selfish, and you just concentrate on you doing well and scoring your goals, where obviously a midfielder will probably read the game more and have a better understanding. So yeah, I would say there is a little bit of that in it.
Do you think it's the hardest position, midfielder?
No. I think I would go goalkeeper or a striker, because you, as a midfielder, you could sit there and just pop the ball around, and you're not really judged on goals. If you get goals, good for a midfielder, but if you're a striker, you've got to score. If you're a goalkeeper, you've got to keep them out. So I think that's what you judge by. So I would say they're the two hardest positions.
Being a goalkeeper must be awful.
Yeah,
it must just be awful.
The last time I ran around in midfield, I wasn't thinking, this is easy, I'll just pop around. I was thinking
absolutely. We've got a bit of a fun finish, few questions to fire at you here, Lee. Who is the best player you've played with in your career?
I'll go Leon Britton.
Why is that,
just the way he plays, his understanding of the game, the way he reads the game. I think if you look at him the higher he went, the better he got when he played with better players. And I just think, you know, for his size and his stature, if he's coming up against someone like Torre, or when he play against these players, you know, they're so much stronger than him. But the way he would read the game, he'd sort of like, if he was, when he's a holding midfielder, as soon as that ball would come in, he'd sort of read where they were going to pass, and he would always cut passes out like that and win the ball back. And he was someone who, he'd help the goalkeeper, defence, his own midfield forwards. He was just someone who was very clever and just never give the ball away.
His
attributes, played in every level, didn't he?
Yeah. His attributes though suit the Premier League and the top end of the Championship more than they do League 2 and League 1, right?
Well, I think, you know, in the League 2 he started off as a right winger, so he was very skillful as well, Leon. He was tricks, step overs and that. And then when Roberto come in, he changed his position and had him in that little holding part, because he wanted that midfielder to come in, and we see it all the time now, where midfielder coming in, getting it off the goalkeeper, and he wanted him to do that. But as I say, the more he's got, the higher he went, the better he went.
It's an amazing journey. You don't really get, obviously Pellegrinic and Pans who did it for Luton, but it's a really rarity for a player to grow like that. We've talked about Martinez, but who's the best manager you've played for, and why?
I would say, for me, as a man manager wise, I would say Brian Flynn. He was the one who bought me for Wrexham, and then if he wasn't at Swansea, I wouldn't have come to Swansea, because I just got promoted with Wrexham to back into League 1. So I dropped down a division to come to play for Flinny again, because I just felt when I played with him, it was like I had that freedom to go out, and he just let me go and play. And even like if I'd lose the ball, he wouldn't even want me really chasing after people. He'd say, if you lose it and it's not there, just go and get yourself in a position when we win the ball back where we can get it to you. So, but as a striker, if you've got a manager, you've got a manager saying that, and you know what, all the lads was bought into that as well. It wasn't as though like, oh, lazy blah, because sort of they knew then I would get something on the other end of it, and we had a great team spirit there as well.
Can you imagine a manager nowadays looking at the numbers and going, he ran too far?
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me of the story Gary Lineker tells at his time at Barcelona, because obviously he was at Everton or whatever and Leicester, and he was charging around, pressing defenders. He got to Barcelona and started doing that, and they were doing, what are you doing? What are you playing at? Stay in the box. Stay near the box and score goals.
Chris Waddle said the same about going to Marseille. He'd start to track back in his early time at Marseille, and they'd be like, what are you doing? We want you up there. We want you with the ball further up. Get up there.
But it makes sense, doesn't it? Because if your position is up there, what are you doing going back? And you
don't want to be starting 40 yards from your own goal.
How many times do we see it now where they bring everyone back on the corner? The corner gets won, gets defended, gets played out, and they just pick the ball up again and just go on attack, and it keeps doing it. So I can understand why people do that.
My pet peeve in football is bringing everyone back for a corner. I'm like, we're going to clear it to nobody. We can't even counter attack. So
they're going to have another attack on you.
Was it just
a reason he's a centre forward as well? Get him up there.
So heading it clear. Was it just kind of a man management thing and tactical thing with him then?
Tactical. He was very good tactically as well. I think if you look at Roberto when he managed as well, tactically wise, and the way he changed the way we played, he's up there as well. But I'd go with Flinny for me as like, because I was only with Roberto for probably 5 months, something like that, at the end of the season. Then I moved to Bristol in that summer. But you know what Roberto done and how he was and how the lads played, you know, you could tell us football better.
What did he say about your move? Was it something that you pushed and said, I really want to go, or was it him trying to keep hold of you?
Yeah, he wanted me to stay, because I had to then hand the transfer request in, because obviously the fans, they then say, why you're selling him. But if you hand that transfer request in, it's like, well, you've asked to go then, haven't you?
Protecting the club.
Yeah, it is, and I could understand why they done that, and I had no problem in doing that, because I understand where the football club was coming from. But they did want me to stay, but it worked out brilliant for everyone, because then that season, I think we'd signed Jason Scotland anyway in the summer, so it was going to be me and him up front together. But then Swansea got promoted that year and went up to the Championship. So, you know, after all them years when I've been there trying, them 4 years, we never got promoted, and a leave, and then that one, then we went up to the...
Maybe you were the problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It worked out well for us. You know, the club had £1 million to spend to bring other players in and that as well, so it helped. It was good for everyone.
You were basically Michael Owen leaving Liverpool and then winning the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't ask the worst manager you've played for, but I'll ask you, what's the bizarrest thing you've seen any manager do in a changing room or otherwise during your long career?
Yeah, do you know, it doesn't happen now, does it? Where they come in and they'd like kick tables and stuff like that, or like throw teapots and things. That doesn't happen anymore, but it would just be like that, because I think I'm in the dressing room sometimes now, and the way the managers speak to the players is completely different. I just don't think you can get away with that thing anymore, where it's sort of that fight. It's not like that. So what I would have seen would have been like the kicking the table over and stuff like that, and throwing stuff around the dressing room.
Mike Bassett in the dressing room there.
Or Brian Law's throwing a plate of chicken when he's at Ivano Benetti that time.
Talking of not berating players, have you seen the clip of Vincent Kompany shouting at Goodmanson? What did you make of that? Because that was kind of old school, I guess, wasn't it?
I like that as well, because I think people do need telling at times, and even like yourself, sometimes you need it for yourself to give you a lift, where if someone's not doing anything, I always say it now to our lads where I play, like if I'm saying something to you or you think I'm shouting or moaning at you, I see it as just, I expect better from you. I think you're a better player than what you're giving. If I'm not saying nothing to you, that's when I would worry, because I think, well, you can't do it anyway, so I'm not gonna try. I'm not going to waste my breath. So it's more, I think it's, I'm expecting higher standards from you. I'm not moaning. I know that you can do better than that, and I like that, and I like it getting said to me as well at times, because it gives me a lift.
I quite liked him biting back at Kompany at times. He kind of tried to walk away from him, and then he kind of went back at him. I guess that's something you saw quite a lot of in these kind of discussions. I was probably
one of them who would, if the manager said that to me, I would still like answer back and say things. But then I think as long as you then speak about it afterwards, and then it's fine. Listen, it's football, and you're gonna have that. I've seen fights in the dressing room. I've seen fights in training. You're playing this sport where you need to be at that level to perform, and that's just part of it.
What's the best goal you ever scored in your career? Have you got one you think about that?
It's the one in the final, the EFL final with the chest and volley. I think the occasion for me as well, in a cup final to score that goal. It was on Sky, so everyone's watching as well. So I'd say that goes down as me favourite.
And your greatest moment of your career, probably.
Do you know what? My greatest moment, I would say, is just signing professional. When I went to Wrexham, because when I played non-league, it was just 1 to 11 then. You never had no names on it, was just whatever number. So I was looking forward to going and seeing what number was it going to be, my name on the back of the shirt, and so I'd probably say that's my most memorable one, where I got a big buzz going into the dressing room and seeing that.
Wow. Was there any massive change? Obviously you are going into professional at that point, but you coped with the step up pretty well. But was there any massive changes where you were like, hold on a minute?
Well, a part of how I got to Wrexham, they wanted to take me on trial, and Real at the time said, well, give us a game and we'll you can take them then, so they could earn a bit of money on the gate, get a bit of money for the club. And then I played in that game and scored an hat-trick against them, against the first team. So when I went in, it wasn't like going on trial to other places. It was like they'd seen me play, and so I had that little bit of respect where they were all talking to me. And then I played for the reserves on Monday, scored 2, and then they signed me then. But then even on me debut, I scored an overhead kick on my debut and then set the winner up. Walsall won 3-2. And then in my first 4 games, I went to score 7 goals. So I settled in pretty quick into League One, because it's still a big jump from League of Wales to League One football, and you don't know how it's going to go. So for me, setting off like that and scoring them type of goals, it just settled me in.
You hear a lot that story about Manchester United players saying to Sir Alex Ferguson, "Oh, go sign that Cristiano Ronaldo." There's a real v Wrexham version of that.
And both worked out pretty well. Yes, you didn't end up at Real Madrid, but not far off. You're obviously a big fan favourite, especially at Swansea. Have you had any kind of crazy fan interactions? Has anyone got your signature and got it tattooed? Does anyone?
I've got it. There's a few of them. There's a few tattoos. Yeah, there was. We had I had an image rights at Swansea as well. I had an image rights contract. It was the first one outside the Premier League, and in the club shop, they sold thongs, girls' thongs with me face on. So then on a night out, I've seen someone has flashed the thing, and I've seen me face there looking back at me on it. So that would probably be the craziest one I've had.
Did you take them home for your partner and be like, look what they're selling in there? You won't believe this.
No, I think I was single at the time. But I think they were good sellers.
That's amazing. So talk us through that little deal you had with the club. Were you getting like a percentage of the shirt sales or a percentage of the club sales?
So what it was after that. It was when the Sheffield Wednesday move, when I turned that down. Yeah. I think my agents and the club got together, and I think it was more like a loyalty thing to say, that I stayed. And what we just done it as it was sort of done as like another signing on fee. So I just got a fee for letting them trademark my name in the club shop for what they were selling. So instead of like going in and getting a percentage of all sales and having to do that, we just come to an agreement on a figure, and that was like a yearly figure what they could do to use it, which was good.
That's decent, isn't it? You are still playing, knocking about for Treflin.
Yeah.
Are you planning on playing into your 50s? Have you got any stop date, or are you just doing it because you enjoy it?
Yeah, I would say I haven't got a stop date, no, but I'd like to get to 50 to still play at that level and to be playing. I'll be 48 in October, so not long. I still feel all right. I've done my MCL last season, so I missed like 6 months of the season. Got myself back now, so we've started off well. I've scored 3 in 4 games. And
still got it.
We're second in the league at the minute, so we've got top of the league on Friday at their place, so that'll be a good one. But I just love playing.
There'll be a big money move coming if you keep this up, won't there? Sheffield Wednesday will be back in for you.
Can I just say I'm a year younger than Lee, so I'm still available.
Right, let's finish this off with our predictions for Swansea Cardiff this weekend. Swansea coming into this 3-0 against Preston. Cardiff got battered by Burnley 5-0. But Burnley should have scored. I mean, the keeper.
Did Burnley
mistake,
only go into the Cardiff half 5 times or something?
Yeah, they had like 5 shots and scored all 5
Yeah.
goals, and maybe even 4 shots because the keeper let in an own goal. So, how are you feeling ahead of this derby? Bring us back up to date.
Yeah, I'm feeling confident about it. Obviously, the derby, I do think form goes out the window. I do think it helps us that we're playing at home. Obviously, they're coming off the back of that defeat. They got beat first game of the season, so they haven't won a game yet. I think the bottom of the league. Yeah. So the pressure will be on them massively to come into that game, and I don't think they will be looking forward to it the way we will be. You know, we had a great win on Saturday, played really well. So coming into the game now with confidence, but same again, you just don't know what's going to happen on these games. But on it, I'm confident that we'll go out and perform.
And what's your thoughts on Luke Williams? Obviously, he came in from Notts County. Seems to be kind of popular around Swansea.
Yeah, I think he's brilliant, especially his style of play, his football that he wants to play. You know, it's attractive football, and it's what the fans want to see. Obviously, player-wise, I'd like him to be backed a little bit more. If we can try and bring a couple more players in, especially if we want to try and challenge. Because I think where we are now, we've got to look at trying. If we can get to near them playoffs, I think that's as a football club, that's where we've got to be looking now. But I do think he needs to bring a couple more in, because management and the way he is, the football he wants to play, you know, he's a perfect fit for us.
I feel like the Championship, especially this season, I support commentary, you support Sheffield Wednesday, so we're both in it. But there's a lot of teams that could challenge for those playoffs this season. Unlike last season where there was a clear top 4, it feels like it's far more open this season, and maybe a couple of additions could put Swansea right in the mix.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, you know, you look at these teams like your Leeds and stuff like that, they're probably a standout team to be up there. But I do think the Championship, it always throws one of them where, like with Coventry, you know, they're always Ipswich last season. Yeah. It throws teams in where you just don't know what's going to happen. I think that's why it's an exciting league as well, because you could be bottom of the league and go to one of the top teams and still get a win away from home. It's not like the Premier League where if a bottom team went to Man City, you know what the result's going to be. The Championship is not like that.
Like when Blackburn went to Leeds in April last year and got a result. Just
it's
nuts sometimes.
How did Wednesday get on this weekend, or are we not? Right, let's finish this episode of the Sportsman Untitled. Lee, I want your score prediction for Swansea versus Cardiff, and a goal scorer maybe as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go Swansea 2-0, and I'll go Liam Cullen, goal scorer.
Brilliant. That is a great way to finish. Thanks very much for joining us, Lee. Thanks for Chris for your information as well. And thank you very much for watching. You can catch the South Wales derby on Sky on Sunday afternoon. But that's it from us, and we'll see you next time on the Sportsman Untitled.